Growing up, I've always heard about GTA Vice City, the neon-filled 80s nostalgia adventure created by Rockstar. I unfortunately never got to experience Vice City back when I was a kid, but I did play San Andreas. Well, it's because my Vice City and GTA 3 were too scratched to play. I'm happy to say that here in the year 2022, almost 20 years after its original release on the PS2, I have finally jumped into this fantastic world. As a disclaimer, I am playing the newly released Definitive Edition. I apologize if the best way to play the game is using the PS2 emulated version, but this one feels a lot better to play, with its modern controls and its 60 FPS. This also marks my first video that focuses on achieving the platinum in a game. I've always found trophy and achievement hunting to be what draws me to gaming, so I'm happy to be able to document and reflect on my experiences. With all of that being said, let's jump into Vice City, the Platinum Edition. The game starts in a way that really reminds me of a Martin Scorsese movie. And I'm not just saying that because our main character Tommy is voiced by Ray Liotta himself. It starts at the round table of a mob family talking about how they're going to send one of their guys, Tommy, down south to Vice City to get going on his own little enterprise. Start small and work his way up, and then they're going to make their way down there and pay him a visit. So that's where we pick up in Vice City, with Tommy and two other men getting in the car with Ken Rosenberg, and then a drug deal that goes south real quick. The drugs and the money are now both gone, along with the two that came with him. So we got to repay this guy somehow. So why not do it in the greatest city of them all, right? So this game only has 20 main story missions, which actually threw me off a little bit because I thought the game was going to be around the same size as San Andreas. Until playing, I realized that it's one of the smallest ones that they've made. It's still got a lot to it, though. Having only 20 main missions, I was initially thrown off by the length of what I presumed to be a long game. The missions themselves aren't anything too special in today's standards, but there's still something satisfying about the whole premise of becoming the best of the best. I had no idea going into this game just how difficult some of these missions actually are. I was really surprised by the difficulty spike in some of the later missions. Even though this version of the game is highly looked down upon, I'm actually glad I'm playing this version, because I know that in the PS2 version there weren't any checkpoints, but in this one Grove Street Games actually incorporated a checkpoint system where you can restart the mission from a menu rather than having to drive all the way back and do it all again. Just a little more convenient. I'm not going to go into any mission details because I want to try to keep this as spoiler free as possible, even though it's been out for almost 20 years now. But along with the story missions, you have gang missions and asset missions. I like to think of gang missions as strangers and freaks missions that you see in the newer GTA and Red Dead games. They're basically just side missions that you do for some of the other characters that you're introduced to throughout the story, and they're actually kind of enjoyable. Some of them gave me a hard time, but then again, I like it when a game humbles me and makes me really think about my next move. As I mentioned previously, we also attend to all the asset missions. This game is just one big tycoon essentially. You could buy safe houses and actual money-making properties like a strip club. Before you start earning money, though, you have to do all the missions that tie to the business. These are pretty fun and actually really unique compared to what I've been exposed to in previous Rockstar games. There are 11 trophies tied to doing all of the missions in the game, along with some secret ones that require certain requirements in a couple of the missions. Those secret ones are indeed missable, so I had to be sure to do a little bit of research prior to starting the missions. There is no mission replay in the game, so once I beat the mission, if I didn't make a hard save before it, that'd be it for that playthrough. But I did get the missable trophies done, so that was a huge relief. There's also assassination missions. There are only 5, and they're accessible from a payphone that's marked on your map. They're exactly what they sound like, and they're a good way to spice up the gameplay from time to time. That rounds out the missions, so let's talk about the side activities that filled this world. Of course, with a GTA game, the world is probably the most important part of what makes them so much fun. As you already know, the game takes place in the titular Vice City. You can think of it as a version of Miami, Florida. Rockstar did a really good job of making this one stand out as the game is set in the 80s. What I mean by that is neon everywhere. Nighttime drives around the city are stunning, especially in this remastered version. The neon buildings along with the retro-looking vehicles. Of course, I can't forget about the killer soundtrack featuring your favorite 80s hits, songs like Africa by Toto, Keep on Loving You by REO Speedwagon, and I Ran So Far Away by A Flock of Seagulls. They all contribute to your film experience being an authentic and ear and eye candy experience. Sure, you can add the music, the looks, and the space to drive around in, but that wouldn't be enough. So what does Vice City bring in terms of things to do on the side? Oh, you like hunting collectibles, do you? Well, there's 100 of them. Rockstar put 100 hidden packages around Vice City, which is honestly a good thing because it makes you explore the nooks and crannies of the city and really take it all in. Luckily, this isn't San Andreas. Hidden packages are all you need in terms of small collectibles. But that's not all. You actually get rewarded for finding milestone numbers of collectibles. Every 10 you get, it gives you a free weapon at select safe houses. And when you get to the 80 to 100 mark is when you get even cooler stuff. Who doesn't like cool stuff? And free? Sign me up. At 80, you get your very own Sea Sparrow, which is like a helicopter that can land on the water rather than just crashing into it. It spawns at your estate that you get later on in the game. And at 90, you get a freaking tank. You can even do the Vigilante side mission if you really want to, but I'll tell you right now, it's not as cool as the reward at 100. You get your very own Apache helicopter. Now you can fly around and terrorize the local population to your heart's desire. Or, you can do what I did, and do the Vigilante missions from there. See, the helicopter actually makes the missions an absolute cakewalk, because you could take them out from there without complications, other than, bad flying in my case. But once you get that down, it's fine. Aside from collectibles, you have your standard street races, off-road races, stadium events, races, and even RC races. So, if you like racing, you'll have your hands full for a decent amount of time. And all of that contributes to the 100%, by the way. Let's say you want to take out some pent-up anger, or just want to go crazy for a little bit. Well, do we have the thing just for you? There are 35 rampages throughout the city which make you kill a certain amount of people or blow a bunch of stuff up in a certain time limit. Sometimes it's cathartic to just go crazy and just blow stuff up. Well, unfortunately, we come to the part that I'm not so much of a fan of, and that's the stunt jumps. Luckily, there's only 36 of them, so you shouldn't spend too long on them, unless you're like me and, well, whenever you hit a certain jump, your bike catches on fire and then you have to go and get a new one. Also, you can rob stores in the game. I didn't mention that before, but yeah, there's 15 stores that you can rob that I had no idea about. Probably because I didn't pay attention, but yeah, it's cool that this was a feature all the way back in 2002. It's nothing special, but just aim at them and they give you the money, and then you get a wanted level, and boom, go on your way. Getting 15 of those also counts towards your 100% completion. Aside from that, you can also hit up the shooting range and get as many points as you can. Which, if you get 45, that counts to a percentage of the 100%. Last but not least, treat yourself to some keepy uppies at the beach, or I did it in a pool in the suburbs with a beach ball, which is a lot harder than it sounds. Well, other than that stuff, that just leaves 3 miscellaneous things left to do. I think it goes without saying that as small of a game as Vice City is in comparison to the other titles, it still has a lot to offer in its small, but not hidden, package. And finally, after around 18 hours of gameplay, I have achieved the Platinum Trophy. After doing all the side missions, all that I had left to do was a bunch of miscellaneous tasks, like Bloodring and the Paramedic mission. What I didn't mention before was that there are trophies tied to each of the vehicle missions, like Vigilante, Paramedic, Firefighter, and Taxi. You do 100 Taxi, and then 12 levels of each of the Paramedic, Firefighter, and Vigilante missions, and those will give you trophies, and part of your 100% completion. I'd reckon most of my time with Vice City was mostly positive, aside from random moments that made me scratch my head and wonder why. And the times I had to retry a few missions because I wasn't equipped enough or didn't know what was waiting for me around the corner. Surprisingly, achieving the Godfather criminal rating wasn't this bad this time around. And believe me, I do know how it used to be, and I'm glad they lowered it to 100k instead of 1 mil. As you can see in the footage here, I am causing absolute havoc in a tank. I was going for 2 of the 3 last trophies I needed, which were to destroy $1 million worth of property and to get the Stuff of Legends Media Attention rank. This was so fun, and it didn't even take me that long. All I had to do was get into my tank that I got from getting those 100 packages and just go crazy around the town. Which brings me to my last trophy that I needed, which was to ride a 30-second wheelie. So, what better way to end off playing GTA Vice City than to grab a Sanchez and ride a 30-second wheelie down one of the busiest highways in the game. About 44 seconds later, my last bronze trophy popped, and so did the platinum. I know it's 2022, but I'm sure someone out there still hasn't played Vice City. I mean, I didn't, So there's got to be somebody else out there just like me, right? I really encourage you play this game. Even though it may be a product of its time, it's still very fun. With that said, however, I do not recommend you go for the platinum in this game, as you'll be doing very tedious things for hours on end. If that's your sort of thing, though, then by all means treat yourself to that sweet platinum trophy. But if you don't like doing all that and just want to play the game and have fun with it, then I think you'll really enjoy this experience. And that concludes my platinum experience with GTA Vice City, the Definitive Edition. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any suggestions about what you want to see me platinum or 100% next, let me know and I'll see what I can do about it. Take care.